In Venezuela, citizens participate in the great national consultation called Communes Can Do More, with the objective of defining popular projects for the communities. Ecuador's electoral authorities gave a new update on the popular referendum promoted by President Daniel Noboa 2 hours before closing the polling stations. In the Gaza Strip, rescue teams have recovered 210 bodies after the Israeli occupation forces left the southern city of Khan Younis. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, people participate in the great national consultation called Communes Can Do More, with the objective of defining by vote the election of priority popular projects for the communities. 15,617 voting centers have been set up in the 23 states of the South American nation for this day of voting. In this consultation called by President Nicolás Maduro, all Venezuelan men and women over 15 years of age may participate, who must choose among nearly 23,000 social projects proposed by the more than 4,500 communes located in the national territory. These projects are aimed at sectors such as health, education, food security, environment, public services, and economy, and the winning ones will be financed by the government and executed by the organized communities themselves. In Venezuela, the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission, Carolina Arellano, made statements regarding the referendum taking place in the country on this Sunday, April 21st.
As we said before, this is an unprecedented process for the people's power, whether it be the communal councils or the communes as such that make up electoral districts. This is a civic demonstration of participatory democracy, as we have always done it based on Article 5 of the Venezuelan Bolivarian Constitution, which stipulates that the will of the people is binding. And also in keeping with Article 70, which regulates these kinds of events.
Likewise, the spokeswoman of the Electoral Commission expressed that since early in the morning, the citizens have come out to vote, making a demonstration of civic responsibility.
We have seen the media coverage of this referendum, young and old people queuing up since early in the morning. This has been one more instance of civism, as it has been the norm in Venezuela's participatory democracy. We are used to holding referendums, and this one, organized with the support of the people's power, has been a joyful, successful event.
Venezuela holds a day of consultation on community projects to improve the welfare of the people and address their needs. From Caracas, our correspondent Gladys Quesada for more details on today's electoral exercise.
Yes, thanks for the time and the contact once again here in teleSUR English and for all of the audience of From the South. Right now, I'm currently in downtown Caracas, in the center of Caracas, in San Agustin, one of the most humble and also populated and crowded neighborhoods here in the capital of Venezuela. So far, people are still voting, and so far also the consultation of the communes is still underway, as the people are still voting for several projects. As we were saying in other emissions, today is a day that follows in line after a discussion of several of these projects that seek to enhance the livelihood of the people and the conditions of living of the people. In this college, in this voting center, that is also a commune center here in San Agustin, people is voting because they need maybe water sanitation, better or improvements in the infrastructure of schools, and they are voting for their projects of their preference on the pressing needs, and also to give that afterwards to the executive so they could use all the resources and allocate the financing to solve the issues, the pressing issues of San Agustin. I want to say, because I think it's paramount to clear, that San Agustin was one of the most depressed and one of the most popular and humble communities and also neighborhoods here in Caracas, but the government has made a rescue, a salvage of San Agustin, not only because of enhancement or bettering the infrastructure, also because they are bringing several projects here to the neighborhood, as the alternative theater festival that had parts and had place and took venues here in San Agustin for their inhabitants. So far, that's the information, that's what is happening. It is expected that the international observers will offer a press briefing later on the day, later on the night also, and it is expected that the voting and commune centers will be closing, and afterwards they will be receiving the results about which one are the main topics and which one are the main projects that are going to receive the financing and the management by the government. That's the information so far. I will be touring Caracas and I will be giving you all the information. So right now, back to you.
Ecuador's electoral authorities announced the closure of the polling stations of the referendum promoted by President Daniel Noboa. Diana Atamaint, head of the National Electoral Council, declared that at the end of the day, 78% of citizens participated in the electoral exercise. Earlier, Atamaint explained that the setting up of several polling stations was affected and delayed, mainly on the coast of Ecuador due to the outflow of a river provided by heavy rains, preventing its inhabitants from exercising their right to vote. The electoral authorities will now move on to the ballots counting.
In the midst of its worst energy crisis, a marked economic recession and the highest homicide rate in Latin America, Ecuador goes to the polls this Sunday, April 21st. President Daniel Noboa promotes a referendum that, according to his promises, will allow the construction of a new country.
Today, criminal organizations and corruption are trying to put obstacles in our way. But we are going to get out of this with strength and with our best weapon, which is our vote. We are going to promote the referendum this Sunday.
There are 11 questions, most of them related to security, such as the role of the armed forces in the fight against organized crime and the increase of penalties for serious crimes.
Traditionally, consultations have been used to validate presidential positions, but many of them are anchor questions. What are the anchor questions? Something that no one could say no to, and then, taking hold of that anchor question, making a campaign to vote in favor of the other presidential intentions or pretensions. Although it worked for Lenin Moreno with the 7 times yes, at the time, for Guillermo Lasso, when he proposed his popular consultation, he did it in a way that generated complete rejection from the population.
Some consider that the electoral process has been used by the president to legitimize the role of the U.S. Southern Command in the alleged fight against organized crime, the presence of the military on the streets, and to justify the abuses of the armed forces, as denounced by human rights organizations.
We are not talking about assistance, we are talking about forms of government, about control of prisons or the streets. We have painfully seen summary executions in the country. We have seen a young man who goes out to sell a puppy and is executed without any process.
Moreover, unions denounce that behind the security questions, there are other core questions that jeopardize workers' rights.
Vacation, subsidies, and overtime rights are eliminated. Workers under this type of contract will have to be available 100% of the time, hoping that there will be a contract for 2, 3, 4 hours of work.
Another question that does not convince progressive groups is that of international arbitration for investments.
Article 422 that they want to amend in this referendum prohibits the Ecuadorian state from submitting to international arbitration and yielding sovereignty. In the annex to question D, the article is completely changed, and the state is completely exposed to international arbitrations. Gentlemen, out of every 10 arbitrations, the state loses 7, the other 3 never wins. It only reaches judicial or extrajudicial agreements before the respective award. In all of them it has to pay.
13.6 million Ecuadorians are called to the polls to express their support or rejection to this electoral initiative proposed by a president whose approval, according to several polls, in March reached almost 80%, but who has now faced a strong rejection after decisions such as those of assaulting the Mexican embassy in Quito and the blackouts of more than 8 hours a day. The truth is that Noboa is risking a great part of his political capital this Sunday. Elena Rodriguez, teleSUR, Ecuador.
In Ecuador on Sunday was assassinated Damián Parrales, the director of the Manabí 4 Detention Center, also known as El Rodeo, just 5 days after taking office and during the development of the National Popular Consultation. In this way, local media reported that Parrales was killed by hired assassins while he was with his family in a local restaurant in the province of Manabí. On the other hand, the police and armed forces deployed in the area confirmed that the assassins apparently arrived on a motorcycle. This crime occurs despite the fact that the authorities informed that about 100,000 troops were in charge of guaranteeing the security of this voting day. In Haiti, several social movements demonstrated against the increase in violence that plagues the country. The Committed Youth Movement of Haiti called for a mobilization to demand the non-installation of the Presidential Transition Council. The head of the organization made a call for unity for the sectors of national life. In this sense, he added that the installation of the members of the Residential Council will cost the resources of the state without seeing results against violence. This is an opportunity for youth organizations and to make a call for an uprising against insecurity, impunity, and corruption of the system. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In the Gaza Strip, rescue teams have recovered 210 bodies after the Israeli occupation forces left the southern city of Khan Younis. Civil defense officials said the bodies, mostly women and children, were found in a mass grave near the Nasser hospital, and it is presumed they were victims of massacres perpetrated by Israeli troops. The agency said that so far 2,000 Palestinians have been reported missing, who may have been killed and buried or kidnapped by the occupation. Since the start of the Israeli siege on October 7th, over 34,000 people have been killed and 76,000 wounded, while thousands of the victims still remain under the rubble. In Morocco, hundreds of activists protested in front of the U.S. Consulate General in Casablanca to express their solidarity with the Palestinian people. Participants raised their Palestinian flags and banners denouncing the crimes committed by the Israeli occupation. Protesters urged the international community for pressing the occupation forces to reach a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and opening the border crossings for humanitarian aid. In turn, activists called on the Moroccan kingdom to break off relations with Israel.
We think this genocide is a direct aftermath of the assistance the U.S. government has been providing for years to the Zionist entity. Here, we are witnessing a crystal-clear complicity in what the White House supplies in terms of logistics, funding, vetoes, military, and espionage to the Zionist entity.
Also in Marseille, France, thousands of people went out in the streets to express their support to the Palestinian people in the face of the genocide committed by Israel since October 7th. With Palestinian flags and banners, the French citizens demanded a permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, where more than 34,000 people have died, mostly women and children. France is one of the many countries that have expressed their rejection of Tel Aviv's terrorist acts against Palestine. Meanwhile, in Germany, citizens took to the streets of Berlin to reject the supply of arms to Israel. The demonstrators called to stop arming Tel Aviv to defend the future of Palestinian children and youth. Despite the peaceful nature of the mobilization, media outlets denounced that German security forces carried out actions to repress and arrest the demonstrators. In the United States, pro-Palestinian activists rallied outside the Capitol in Washington, D.C. to demand that lawmakers not send additional funds to Israel. Waving Palestinian flags, they demanded that the government stops its complicity with the genocide perpetrated in the Gaza Strip. In this context, it is worth noting that more than 40 Democrats representatives voted against the delivery of $26 billion to Israel. They stated that their vote were against the supply of offensive weapons that could result in more killings of civilians in Rafah and elsewhere.
We've tried very, very hard, again, been coming here every day for 3 months now, trying to lobby against it, fight against it, and we managed to delay it for a long time, but today they're going to be voting on it to send more weapons to Israel, which is currently committing a genocide in Gaza.
The Palestinian government criticized the U.S. economic aid bill for Israel and labeled it as an aggression against the Palestinian people. The Palestinian presidential spokesperson Nabil Abu Rudeina deemed that the economic package of billions of dollars for the Israeli armed forces questions Washington's credibility. In that sense, the authority underscored that while the United States provides military support to Israel, the Zionist army continues its aggression against the Gaza Strip. On the other hand, Washington issued a veto on the entry of Palestine as a full member of the United Nations Security Council, in response to which the Palestinian president described the decision as shameful, irresponsible, and unjustified. In this context, on Saturday, the U.S. House of Representatives approved a foreign aid package of more than $95 billion for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. According to local sources, $61 billion from the fund will be sent to Ukraine, while Israel will receive $26.4 billion and Taiwan $8.1 billion. The bill, voted mostly in favor by Republican representatives, is awaiting approval by the U.S. Senate and then to be signed into law by President Joe Biden. In the preceding month, House Speaker Mike Johnson continually refused to put aid to Ukraine to a vote. However, Iran's response to Israel last Saturday served as an excuse to at least move forward with the aid to the Hebrew country, the main U.S. ally in the Middle East. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back. In Spain, authorities have announced official results on Sunday's general elections held in the Basque Country Autonomous Community. The Basque Nationalist Party won, and now they have as many seats in parliament as the Bildu Party, that is 27. The Spanish Socialist Party won 2 more seats for a total of 12, and the Popular Party, or PP, got 7 seats. Also, the candidate representing Vox got re-elected, and the Sumar Party got 1 seat. Thus, the Socialist Party has become the third leading political force in the Basque Country. Sunday's elections had a 51% turnout. The Russian Foreign Ministry warned that U.S. approval of the multi-billion-dollar aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan will only increase tensions in the conflicts. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova pointed out that military aid to Kyiv amounts to direct sponsorship of terrorism, and funding for Taiwan means interference in China's internal affairs. Zakharova added that U.S. military aid to Israel lays the groundwork for escalating aggressions in the Middle East. With less than 100 days to go until the start of the Olympic Games in Paris on Sunday, World Athletes legend Khan Younis said Sunday he believes it will be a fabulous venue.
Oh, first of all, I think Paris can be fabulous, incredible. It's a wonderful country. It's a beautiful city, and I know they're going to integrate the culture and the ideas, and being the 100th anniversary, I think it's going to be an absolute fabulous Olympics.
Olympic champion Paris Shep won the women's London Marathon on Sunday in a world record time of 2 hours, 16 minutes, 16 seconds for an all-female race. In this sense, the 30-year-old Kenyan beat the women's record of 2 hours, 60 minutes, 17 seconds set by her teammate Mari Keitany in 2017. For her part, Shep stated that she is very satisfied with the result achieved in her first race of the current year and assured that she is fully motivated and focused on the Olympic Games to be held in Paris. In northern France, tourists and locals have gathered on the beach at Brec for the 37th edition of the International Kite Festival. China will be the guest country of honor of this edition from April 20th to 28th, being this the first time the festival has introduced the concept of guest countries since its creation in 1987. Welcoming around 700,000 kite enthusiasts and spectators from all over the world, this year's festival showcases some of the world's most incredible kites. With more than 40 countries taking part in this kite flying extravaganza, the festival is a truly international gathering representing all 5 continents. During the event, the China Cultural Center in Paris will join hands with Weifang city in Shandong province to showcase the most authentic Chinese kite art and cultural experience to the audience.
Three problems in general: when there's no wind, when there's too much wind, and when the wind is good, there's never enough room in the sky. That's it. And I go out into the fields because today the wind is strong but it's good, and I go out into the fields to tell them, guys, there's still room, you've got to go, you've got to put out kites, because the more color there is, the better I feel, and then I'm like a big kid.
I feel like it's kind of a dreamland, or like Disneyland, this kind of feeling. And all these creatures, they are out of your imagination, and they are all very natural but also very imaginative. Yeah, it's really cool. It feels like it's something that appears in my dream.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.